I'm Elisa Wood. I'm the editor-in-chief of Microgrid Knowledge, and I have the great pleasure of being here today with Catherine von Berg, who is the CEO and president of SimpliPhi Power. They do great work, and I'm very excited to talk to her. I love the work your company does, as I said. You're often associated with projects that have a strong humanitarian bent. Cameroon, the Footprint projects, disaster relief programs, Maycroft Apartments, which won the Greater Good Award last year, Puerto Rico, clinics in remote areas, and it goes on and on. Tell us a little bit about your company philosophy and how it leads you to these projects.
When we founded in 2010, really the beliefs that I have about founding anything or any initiative, that it really should be in service of making a difference. And founding a company, whether it's products or services, you really need to create solutions to existing problems or challenges. And so when we founded, thinking about what is the impact that we are going to have, and certainly whether a company is offering products or services, innovation is critical. In my mind, innovation, though, is certainly about the technology, but it's also about the business model itself, how you actually structure a company, and some of the guiding principles. So from day one, we've been interested in proving out the triple bottom line, people, planet, profit. And that's somewhat unprecedented for startup companies, early stage companies. It's typically thought of something that only large Fortune 500 can really think about in terms of resources. But what we have found as a company is looking at the triple bottom line, people, planet, profit, that we have to make sure all the more that our technology, the R&D and innovations, are indeed providing solutions to pain points in the market that we're addressing. But fundamentally, again, looking at the triple bottom line, we were set on becoming a company that was very mission-based. And the impact on people and planet to really serve the health of our bottom line, the profit, was critical. So the projects that we've been engaged in all over the world, we're in 40 countries, over 40 countries. Every project has a commercial benefit in terms of the finances that drive them. The projects that we engage in have commercial applications, and the fiscal reality behind them drives the projects, but they always have an impact, in part because that's what we are aware of. And we are always looking at projects in terms of that impact above and beyond the revenue. We're looking at the partnerships, the synergies between partners, for-profit, nonprofit, that can come together.
That's really fascinating, Catherine. You've really been able to bring together the idea of innovation, market, and also what I call the humanitarian side of energy. You've been able to combine the three successfully. It's very fascinating. Yeah, there's no shortage of need for your work. There's no doubt about that, both here in the United States and elsewhere in the world. I'm curious what you think about how U.S. policymakers and lawmakers are doing in terms of electric resilience. Do you feel like they fully understand electric resilience and why it's so important? Again, from a humanitarian or social justice perspective, are they getting that? Are they giving it enough credence?
The Biden administration, for the first time, has included issues around equity in its energy policy, environmental policy, and I believe that's a first. To think about access to energy, what type of energy, through an equity lens is really groundbreaking in some respects and really necessary.
So it seems like we're starting to move in the right direction.
I believe so, yes, but it's not quite enough. So we are a company based in California, and to illustrate example of how policymakers don't seem to understand quite enough, and how critical resilience is, and issues around energy and access, and eliminating CO2, or certainly mitigating increasing levels of CO2. in California, the public safety power shutoffs are being presented or marketed, if you will, as a way to keep the public safe by shutting off the power to prevent forest fires. But the truth is, billions in losses, economic losses, result of shutting off the grid. And to give you numbers from 2020, the year of COVID, in California alone, there were 9,900 fires. Out of that 9,000 plus fires, it's estimated approximately 700 fires were started because of utility infrastructure. And during 2020, the number of PSPS events were estimated to be 25. So if we have over 9,000 fires starting because of environmental factors, heat, drought, and extreme wind, climate change, and we have 25 PSPS events that are meant to protect the public against wildfires, but actually only 700, and I don't mean to diminish 700, but 700 fires were created by utility infrastructure. How is it that PSPS events are really protecting the public from a safety standpoint, whether you look at the economics or you look at the destruction of the fires themselves? So the point is, we really need to focus on root cause, and the policies being put in place, again, PSPS events being really marketed as if that's a solution to create safety and to protect the public, is false. And as a company, we're looking at customer-sited assets, storage specifically, to create resilience during the PSPS events, but also fires when the grid goes down because transmission lines are wiped out. The codes and compliance issues on local levels, jurisdictional levels, are creating more and more barriers, including the utilities, to getting these customer-sited distributed assets, the DERs and DERMs, actually permitted. So it's an example of how policy is really not supporting direct real-world solutions to create energy security and resilience, and real-world solutions for mitigating climate change, the very cause of what's driving the 9,000 plus fires in 2020. That's not to say that the utilities are the enemy. I really want to make that clear too, because as a company, we have a number of different demonstration projects with utilities, and we have projects with utilities overseas in New Zealand and Chile and other territories. The point is, it's not a zero-sum game where it's top-down, centralized transmission and distribution, or distributed. It's an and. And the demonstration projects that we've been involved in with utilities, we welcome wholeheartedly, because it's proving out, here again, innovation in terms of a business model and opening up energy markets. It's proving out that there are strong partnerships to be had between the technology and then what we think of as classic utility, centralized infrastructure, and distributed assets.
If a benefactor gave SimpliPhi a very, very large check right now, where would you immediately apply your battery technology? Where would it do the most immediate good?
We're always looking to engage in projects that prove out new business models, new fiscal principles that drive projects, and the technology itself. And so to have a check to leverage that money, it would really be about proving out a model that could then be deployed in other places. So thinking about California, really taking unlimited amount of money and really creating a new energy market where the partnership between the utilities and that top-down centralized approach, integration with customer-sited distributed assets, proving out the model, and certainly with regard to the economics, and then being able to take that to other territories. That type of model even applies in terms of what makes sense in large swaths of different continents that don't have access to centralized resources, because it proves out the renewable energy, distributed assets, and the type of economic development that is potentiated by virtue of those assets.
Fantastic. Catherine, it's always so good to talk to you. I very much enjoyed this conversation, and I hope we get to talk again soon.
No, thank you so much.